Angela Best, your marketing tour guide, and I'm here today with Merschen, the CEO of Myriad Marketing. Myriad Marketing specialises in providing strategic direction and tactical solutions to the tourism and hospitality industry, working predominantly with conventions and visitor bureaus, regional and national tourism organisations. Myriad Marketing offers a complete range of integrated marketing services, including marketing and advertising, representation, and custom publishing. Established in 1987 with offices in Los Angeles and New York, Myriad Marketing is a recognised tourism industry specialist with clients stretching to all four corners of the world. Al, it's a pleasure to be with you today.
It's good for you to be here.
As one of North America's leading tourism marketing and representation companies, can you explain what destination marketing involves?
My pleasure. I think the biggest thing is, first of all, understanding the destination, and of course, understanding their needs and at the same time their capabilities. So many times destinations have certain desires, but they also have to have the infrastructure and everything else to be able to accommodate that too. I think it's important that they all have a realistic approach of what's going to happen. All too often they look at other destinations, see the success, and think that they can do that instantaneously too. They sometimes have to do a real evaluation of what assets they have, what they can bring to fruition in a short period of time, and have a realistic timeline as to when they can bring that in. For the most part, we look at every destination from a holistic point, not only what's to offer, but what's the distribution, if the product is in essence export ready, and if the consumer base is sufficient enough for them to spend the investment in that type of marketing.
Okay, so when a destination, whether that's a country or a region, asks for your assistance, what are their primary objectives? What do they hope to achieve out of working with you?
Well, I think it's interesting because quite often they look to increase tourism. What that means, they're not 100% sure. For the most part, the first thing they need to look at is the return on investment, not just tourism. What kind of tourist do they want? How long do they want the tourist? What do they expect out of the tourist? They need to look beyond arrivals. A lot of times the governments in essence look and say we want to increase our arrivals 10%, whatever it happens to be. Quite often we firstly believe that they need to look and say, what are they trying to get? Is it money? Is it certain employment for certain types of people? Is it that the big properties are going to get bigger, or they need to focus on the small properties getting bigger? What kind of return on investment? And quite often it's not just visitors, it's some other entity that might enter into the situation, and it might be some other way for them to make money, and making sure that the money actually stays in the destination.
Okay, so we know that most destinations have limited funds, so how do you allocate those budgets?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is work backwards and say, what do they want to achieve? Quite often, as I mentioned, they look at just arrivals, when the first thing they should look at is potential length of stay. That can have a huge impact. A prime example is a destination that says, we want a 10% increase in arrivals, when in actuality they could look at one more night. If they went from 5 nights to 6 nights, that actually represents a 20% increase in what they're getting on an ROI. A lot of destinations have limited lift into the destination, so you want to say, why are you even looking at getting more people when you don't have the seats or the aviation strategy behind it? If you can get one more night, the ROI becomes much more applicable than if you're just trying to get more arrivals. So one of the things we look at, first of all, is when we talk to the destination, is that holistically, how much money is going to be left in the destination. There's prime examples of people saying, this is a great destination. And for an example, Costa Rica. There was a study done several years ago. There was a $9.99 fares to Costa Rica, and everybody was looking at their arrivals. When you really went into the situation, you realized that out of the $9.99, the wholesaler in the U.S. was making 20-25%. That netted down to about $750. American Airlines was the big carrier. That took another $300 off. So now it's down to about $450. Most of the jungle lodges were foreign owned, so a lot of the profit margin went over to there. It ended up with about $200 per person. And the biggest problem was, in the jungle lodges, there was no other avenues for the consumers to spend money. Mm-hmm. So how much money was actually left in Costa Rica was questioned. And when you look at the cost of acquisition to bring somebody to a destination, there's not a sufficient return on investment. Mm. So we take a look and say, what kind of funds do you have? What do you want to achieve with those funds? How much money do we need to come back into the country? And then work on that. Naturally, with a lot of smaller destinations, we're looking for partnerships and how to leverage money as much as we can. If we've focused on anything of late, especially with some of the economic problems and trying to get funding from U.S. wholesalers who just don't have that cash flow, we've tried to extend beyond and look for non-traditional partners too. Mm-hmm. We're doing something with a luggage company now. We're doing another promotion that comes up with a beer company. So we're looking to see where we can stretch those dollars beyond just the tourism dollars and see who else has that similar audience that we both want to mutually reach.
Which brings a really good point, because you're talking about limited funding, so there's limited budget, so you actually need to grow that in some way by bringing in potential joint venture partners. But what I'm interested in knowing is that when you go out and do a campaign with a destination, it's not really your responsibility to actually promote the individual supplier, is it?
Not at all. We're supposed to bring the horse to water. And it's up to them to make the water really good for the horse to drink.